Mark Thompson was the kind of guy people trusted without asking why. In their small Midwest town, everyone knew him as steady, old school, and straight up reliable. He didn't talk big, didn't complain much, and never tried to be someone he wasn't. He just showed up every single day. For his son Jake, that consistency meant everything, even before he knew how to put it into words. Jake grew up watching his dad lace up his boots before sunrise. The sound of those boots hitting the floor was like a morning alarm. Mark would grab his coffee, black and strong, and ruffle Jake's hair on the way out. "Be good for your mom, buddy," he'd say. Those words became part of Jake's childhood, as normal as breathing. Some of Jake's best memories were the simple ones. Saturday mornings meant donut runs and long drives with nowhere special to go. Mark's old pickup rattled like it might fall apart, but it always made it back home. The radio played classic rock or local sports talk, and Mark would tap the steering wheel like he owned the road. Jake sat there feeling safe, like nothing bad could touch him as long as his dad was driving. Mark wasn't the kind of dad who hovered. He let Jake fall, scrape his knees, mess things up. But he was always close enough to step in if things got serious. When Jake learned how to ride a bike, Mark jogged behind him, one hand on the seat. "I got you," he said. Then, without warning, he let go. Jake wobbled, panicked, then rode straight ahead. When he looked back, Mark was standing there, smiling. That moment quietly taught Jake what trust felt like. Baseball games, school plays, random events that didn't really matter to anyone else, Mark was there. Even after a long shift, even when he was tired, he never yelled from the stands. He just watched, nodded, and gave a thumbs up. When Jake failed, Mark didn't pile on. He'd say, "Shake it off, champ. Tomorrow's another shot." That line stayed with Jake through every stage of his life. As Jake got older, things changed. Teenage years came in hot. He wanted independence, wanted to be heard, wanted out of that quiet town. Mark and Jake clashed sometimes. Voices got raised. Awkward silences stretched for days. But Mark never shut him out. He stayed calm, even when Jake wasn't. He knew this phase wasn't personal, it was part of growing up. One night after a rough argument, Jake found Mark in the garage, fixing something that didn't really need fixing. Jake stood there, not knowing what to say. Mark didn't look up. He just said, "You'll figure things out. I trust you." That trust hit harder than any punishment ever could. College came fast. Packing day felt unreal. The house looked smaller with boxes everywhere. Mark helped load the car, moving slower than Jake remembered. When it was time to leave, Mark pulled Jake into a quick hug. "Make good choices," he said, then added, "and don't forget where you came from." Jake drove away with his chest tight, not realizing how heavy those words would feel later. City life changed Jake. He grew busy, distracted, caught up in chasing success. Calls home became shorter. "Yeah, I'm good. Work's crazy. I'll visit soon." Soon turned into months. Mark never complained. He just listened and said, "Proud of you, son," every single time. Then came the call that slowed everything down. Mark was sick. Nothing dramatic, just serious enough to matter. Jake went home that same week. Seeing his dad weaker felt wrong, like the world was out of balance. But Mark was still Mark, cracking small jokes, asking about Jake's job, pretending everything was fine. One evening they sat on the porch, just like old times. The sky faded from blue to orange, cicadas buzzing in the background. Mark took a slow breath and said, "You know, I wasn't perfect, but I tried my best." Jake shook his head. "You did more than that, Dad. You showed me how to be solid." Mark smiled, eyes soft. "That's all I ever wanted." Years passed. Mark's health faded, but his presence never did. When he was gone, Jake felt the loss in everyday moments, in the silence of the morning, in the sound of a truck engine, in the smell of coffee. But instead of breaking him, it grounded him. When Jake became a father, he finally understood it all. The quiet sacrifices, the patience, the love shown through actions instead of words. He found himself saying things Mark used to say. doing things the same way. And every time his son grabbed his hand, Jake felt connected to something bigger than time. Because a father's love isn't loud, it doesn't beg for credit, it just lasts. And it lives on through the son who learned how to stand tall by watching his dad do it first.